goodness.
I ain't no tough guy, Paul. I can't,
No way.
I am not Meng. I couldn't have stopped it, stepped in and stopped it. I could have
Yeah,
helped and assisted 5 other guys
sure.
possibly stopping
Just
it.
hold it. All right, let's get into it. We'll talk more, plenty of Nitro. The kickoff next month when we get into September. One of the wildest backstage stories from August 1995. It's legendary now. One of the wildest stories. The fight, Vader, Paul Orndorff. It's become legendary. You were there. What do you remember about how it all went down?
Yeah, I was. Now, keep in mind, Paul Orndorff was a guy that had a rep for being, from the point he was in high school in Tampa to college in Tampa. I think he might have played a tour in
Yeah,
pro football. You know, he was a tough son of a bitch, and he was one of those guys like Dick Slater. There was just some guys that you just didn't mess with. And he had been given a split job duties when he signed his new contract, was be a part-time agent and be a part-time talent. And we were at TV at center stage, and somewhere was Vader in the building. He was supposed to be doing a photo shoot or something they needed shot to be put in the show. Vader had been given the time and all that stuff, but as you know, I think they might have been over it even at CNN studios, and he wasn't at TV. And
yeah, he was
Paul
late.
always walk around looking for him. That's the way it went down, right? Nobody could find him. Well, when he finally came in, he hadn't ate. He hadn't, he was probably flustered because they did too many takes of the shit that could have taken 1 or 2 takes. But he finally walked in, put his stuff down in the locker room, and Vader went, "Jesus Christ, Paul, or Leon, where the fuck you been?" "I was over shooting something at CNN." Yeah, sure you were. "Bullshit. Get your ass dressed. They got to have you out here." And then, man, doors are in 45 minutes. Let's just say 45 minutes. Get your shit on. And he was pretty gruff about the way he said it. And he walked out. Leon looked around, and he could tell guys were kind of looking at him like, "You going to put up with that shit?" Without saying it. And the idea was, Paul was an office guy. He was just doing his job for those that knew, but too many young guys, the look was, "Are you going to put up with that shit?" So he came back in. He said, "Leon," and he saw that Leon hadn't advanced in getting dressed. And he said, "Hey, man, let's go. Get your fat ass up and let's go. They've been waiting on you." And when he walked out, Leon jumped up and he walked out. And I heard him screaming, "Hey, man, you don't talk to me that way." This is Leon to Paul. Paul stopped, turned around. "Hey, I've been trying to find you. My job ain't to run you down in this building, for however many hours," and whatever the deal was. Paul walked right up on him, and in that backstage area, excuse me, sorry about that. It was like a lean-to. It was all metal, and Leon just walked up on Paul. Paul was kind of where his back was, in the back of the lean-to of metal, and he just like took his palm and just kaboom, waffled him and dropped him. Now, here is one of those what ifs, and as you know me, I'm a big fan of what ifs. Had Leon had followed up, that would have been over right then and right there. But he just cut a promo on him and backed off and turned and started to leave. When he did, Paul, I got in kind of between them, so nothing else happened. I don't think I could have stopped it, but I just felt a wind come across the top of my shoulder. And as Leon turned, he saw something was going on, and Paul just went boom, right on the chin. He dropped on his knees, right on his belly. Now, Orndorff had on flip-flops.
Yes.
Had he had on cowboy boots, Leon would have been dead man, because he stomped a mud hole in Leon. He was kicking him with bare feet with flip flops. Boom, 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 5, 6, 7 times, and just we finally got him off. And Paul just went on down the hall and went into a little office that we had for the producers and agents and stuff to get organized in there. And he went in and shut the door. Leon came in that door and his head had blown up. I mean, his eyes were swollen shut, his nose was busted, his mouth was busted. And here he came again. He grabbed Orndorff, jammed him up against the wall. Paul is still throwing. Had Meng not been there to come in and separate, he literally, Meng by himself separated it. And we got Leon out of there, and Paul stayed in that one room. Paul allowed it to be separated. They got him out of there. They got him, somebody drove him back to his hotel, and man, as he was walking out the door, I saw his face. It was brutal. Took him back to the hotel. They sorted through what happened, figured out Paul was doing his job. He might not have did it in the right way, a little gruff, little, bullying. The irony of it was earlier that day, Leon had signed a $600,000 times 2 contract, which he got fired that night. They sent word over to him, you just going home tomorrow. Don't worry about coming in and signing that contract. It's been voided. Whew. Yeah, buddy. Whew.
Yeah.
That's two. Neither one of those guys what I wanted to been locked in a room with. And it was one of the most physical, brutal things I've ever witnessed.
Vader claims because the fight wasn't why he was fired, but rather he refused to take a 6-month suspension and fine. Did you ever hear about anything about him being given a 6-month?
That could have been.
Okay.
That could have been. I just know that they signed a huge contract.
And it was over.
And it went away. I don't know what the specifics were. It just never materialized.
Yeah, some say the violence of the incident and how quickly the news spread left WCW no choice but to act. Do you think, Arn, in your mind, was this an Eric decision, a corporate decision, or just, who do you think made the call? Just Eric?
I think Eric. I think he probably got a call from someone above him, and he didn't hesitate to act.
Yeah. Especially when you talk about Paul Orndorff being an office guy now, part-time, and being struck first.
He was a producer.
Yeah.
Who got struck, who was doing his duties.
Yeah.
Was seen trying to do his duties a couple of times. See, the story never reverted back to, well, Leon, it wasn't his fault really either, because he wasn't even in the building. He was over at CNN shooting this deal. There was a mass lack of communication.
My goodness.
And then the fact that Leon struck him first, and the fact that he came back after him a second time.
After Paul walked away into the room.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Technically, some lawyer would have went, hey, who was the aggressor? From what I'm hearing, Vader was the aggressor.
Yeah, he started it.
So that's how you base your decision on what you're going to do. Well, okay, that's it. It was pretty frightening to be right there in the middle of it, buddy.
My goodness, Arn, I know. That's something for you. You've got to be like, this is a highly anxious situation. You talk about wrestling and all that. This is outside of all that. This isn't business. This is a real deal where somebody's fighting someone else. And it's two
overqualified badasses that one may die if we don't step in here and stop it.
Oh my goodness.
I ain't no tough guy, Paul. I can't.
No way.
I am not Meng. I couldn't have stepped in and stopped it. I could have helped and assisted 5 other guys possibly stopping it.
Just hold on.
Anything. Yeah. And they were both friends of mine. That's what made it hard, made it even worse.
Yeah. Sure.
So it was legendary, and I sat there and I was 3 feet from the whole thing. It just could have been worse. And in this situation, I know that's become a cliche deal that no matter that one deal fits all, it could have been worse. Well, this one, like I said, if Paul would have had on cowboy boots, he would have stomped the man to death.
Because in that moment too, and we've all probably been there at least once in our life, where you lose your temper or something happens where you go absent mind, you see red, and sometimes you just don't have that off switch when you need it. And you talk about, you said if he would have been wearing cowboy boots,
Yeah.
and you just don't
Which
know.
most of us did into the building in our street clothes. Most of us wore cowboy boots.
Mm-mm-mm.
It's one of those things, and you got to enter this area too. We come from an environment where it's a fighting business, and
Yes.
most of the people are pretty damn tough and pretty salty. And when you've got two guys with reputations like that, their reputation's on the line. Forget about winning or losing that particular fight. When this thing's over and said and done, okay, who won that one? Jesus Christ.
That's going to make its way around the rest of the locker room.
It could cost you a career. If you lost and you started it and you lost badly, you might not be able to walk in that locker room again.
Yeah, good point. Well, Arn, thank you for sharing that. Some of you may have wondered, why is this episode titled Chaos Unleashed? You just got why we titled this one, because that was utter chaos.
That was chaotic.